The annual Galactic Food Festival wasn't supposed to change interstellar politics. At least, that's what Chief Cultural Officer Maya Chen thought as she surveyed the bustling pavilions of New Singapore's floating sky gardens. Holographic displays showcased Earth's culinary diversity while anti-grav platforms carried visitors between levels filled with cooking demonstrations and tasting stations. Maya adjusted her formal diplomatic uniform, its sleek lines emphasized by subtle iridescent threading, a nod to both human fashion and alien sensibilities. Her attention fixed on the approaching Archean delegation, their crystalline bodies refracting the evening light into prismatic patterns. The Archeans had maintained a cold peace with Earth for decades, their relationship defined by minimal trade and maximum suspicion. Their presence at the festival was unprecedented, a potential opening that the Terran diplomatic corps couldn't ignore. The lead Archean, Ambassador Zyxtal, towered over Maya at nearly 8 feet tall. Their faceted surface shifted through shades of blue and green, a sign of cautious interest according to Maya's xenobiology briefings. "Welcome to Earth, Ambassador," Maya bowed slightly, careful to maintain the exact angle specified in Archean protocol. "We are honored by your presence at our humble celebration of sustenance." Zyxtal's crystalline form chimed softly, their species equivalent of clearing their throat. "Your invitation was intriguing. Though I must admit, we find your organic methods of energy consumption rather primitive." Maya had expected this. The Archeans processed raw energy directly, viewing biological eating as inefficient and messy. This was precisely why she'd planned tonight's demonstration. "Perhaps you'd allow me to challenge that perception?" Maya gestured toward a private dining area she'd specially prepared. The ambassador's surface rippled with purple, curiosity warring with disdain. "Very well," Zyxtal agreed, their voice resonating like wind through crystal caves. "Show us what makes human sustenance worthy of celebration." Maya led them to a table where Master Chef James Wong waited. His hands moved with practiced precision over a heated cooking surface, each motion a dance perfected over decades. "What you're about to witness," Maya explained, "is something we call molecular gastronomy, where science meets culinary art." Chef Wong began his performance. Liquid nitrogen created clouds of vapor as he flash-froze drops of mango essence. Lasers precisely caramelized sugar structures into geometric patterns that would appeal to Archean aesthetic sensibilities. Each element was carefully chosen to bridge the gap between biological and crystalline perspectives on energy and matter. Zyxtal's surface shifted to deep indigo, their equivalent of rapt attention. The precision, the manipulation of matter states, "This is not simple animal feeding." "No," Maya smiled. "This is human innovation. We take the basic need for sustenance and transform it into art, into science, into culture. Every dish tells a story, Ambassador. Would you like to hear ours?" The Archean's surface rippled with colors Maya had never seen in any diplomatic briefing. "Perhaps," Zyxtal chimed thoughtfully, "we have been too quick to dismiss organic methods. Tell me more about this transformation of matter into meaning." As Chef Wong continued his demonstration, Maya saw something she'd never expected, an Archean learning to appreciate the beauty in what they had always considered a biological weakness. Sometimes, she reflected, the greatest diplomatic breakthroughs didn't come from grand treaties or military strength, but from the simple act of sharing a meal. The evening stretched on, each course breaking down barriers built over decades of mutual misunderstanding. And in the shimmering lights of the sky gardens, Maya realized that sometimes the path to peace was paved not with treaties, but with truffles. The success of the first evening with the Archeans had exceeded Maya's expectations, but the real challenge lay ahead. As she prepared for the second day of the festival, an urgent message flashed across her neural interface. The Archean delegation had requested a private tour of Earth's primary food production facilities, something no crystalline species had ever shown interest in before. Maya found Ambassador Zyxtal waiting in the transport hub, their crystalline form now displaying subtle patterns that reminded her of Earth's dawn sky. Two other Archean diplomats flanked them, their surfaces showing the deep purple of scientific curiosity. Your demonstration last night, Zwixtal's harmonics resonated with newfound warmth, has prompted us to reevaluate certain assumptions about organic processes. The transport pod hummed to life, lifting them toward the vertical farming towers of New Singapore. Through the transparent walls, they watched as the city's architecture blended seamlessly with vast agricultural structures, where centuries of human innovation had transformed urban farming into a form of ecological artistry. What you see here, Maya gestured to the spiraling gardens, is humanity's response to crisis. When climate change threatened traditional farming, we didn't just adapt, we revolutionized our entire approach to food production. The Arxian delegation's surfaces flickered with rapid color changes as they processed the information. The farming towers rose like crystalline structures themselves, their designs incorporating principles of sacred geometry that Maya knew would resonate with Arxian aesthetics. These towers, one of the junior diplomats chimed in, their tone carrying the harmonic pattern of revelation, they mirror the energy matrices of our own breeding chambers. Maya hadn't expected them to make that connection so quickly. Different solutions can often arise from similar principles, she offered. Though we evolved along very different paths, perhaps our species share more common ground than we realized. Zwixtal moved closer to the transport's window, their surface refracting sunlight in complex patterns. Your species transforms solar energy into organic matter, then transforms that matter into art and culture. We thought this process inefficient, but now. They paused, their crystalline form resonating with a deep, thoughtful tone. Now we see it as a form of energy manipulation as sophisticated as our own. The transport pod docked at the highest level of the primary farming tower. As they stepped out, they were greeted by the sight of thousands of plants growing in geometric patterns, their growth guided by AI systems that had learned to speak the language of photosynthesis. Ambassador, Maya said, noting how the Arxian surfaces had shifted to colors she associated with deep emotional impact, would you permit us to show you something few outsiders have seen? The heart of our agricultural revolution. Zwixtal's surface rippled with agreement. Maya led them to a secure chamber at the tower's core, where the latest generation of bioengineering took place. Here, human scientists worked to develop plants that could thrive on other worlds, creating new forms of life that could bridge the gap between Earth's biology and alien environments. You're not just growing food, the second junior diplomat observed, their tone carrying the crystal-clear ring of epiphany. You're evolving it. Directing energy through organic matrices to create new forms of matter. Just as your people shape crystal growth, Maya confirmed. Different methods, similar principles. Zwixtal's surface suddenly exploded with colors Maya had never seen before, brilliant auroras of emotion that her diplomatic training hadn't prepared her for. Chief Chen, they resonated, using her name for the first time, I believe we have gravely misunderstood your species. What we dismissed as primitive biological processes, we now see as a form of artistry that rivals our own crystalline technologies. As Maya watched the Arxians study the laboratory with their newfound appreciation, she realized that this wasn't just about food anymore. They had stumbled upon a fundamental truth about humanity, our ability to transform necessity into innovation, survival into art, and basic biological needs into expressions of creativity that could bridge even the vast gulf between crystalline and organic life. Maya's success with the Arxian delegation had sent ripples through the diplomatic community. As she prepared for the third day of the festival, her neural interface buzzed with congratulatory messages from Earth's diplomatic corps. But one message stood out, a priority alert from Earth Central Command. Scanning it, she felt her chest tighten. A radical faction within the Arxian governance crystal had branded the delegation's participation in the festival as organic corruption. They were demanding the immediate recall of Ambassador Zwixtal and their team. The decades of mistrust between their species threatened to shatter the fragile connection they'd built. Maya found Zwixtal in the festival's meditation garden, their crystalline form displaying turbulent patterns she'd never seen before. The ambassador's surface swirled with colors that spoke of internal conflict. You've heard the news, Zwextal's voice resonated with discordant harmonics. Their usual melodic tones had been replaced by sharp, jagged frequencies. I have, Maya acknowledged, choosing her words carefully. But I've also seen something in these past 2 days that I believe matters more, genuine understanding between our species. The garden's atmospheric controls created a gentle rain, droplets falling around them but never touching the Archean's crystalline form. The water capture systems transformed the precipitation into rainbow-like displays, a technology specifically designed to appeal to crystalline species' aesthetic sensibilities. My opponents believe that by studying your organic methods, we risk contaminating the purity of our crystalline existence. Zwextal's surface rippled with patterns of frustration. They cannot see that different forms of evolution can lead to equal sophistication. Maya stepped closer, noting how the ambassador's surface didn't display the usual recoil response to nearby organic beings. Perhaps, she suggested, we could show them something that bridges our two forms of existence. Zwextal's colors shifted to a questioning pattern. Maya activated her neural interface, bringing up the classified files she'd been hesitant to share until now. Holographic displays materialized around them, showing research that her team had kept secret for years. We've been studying crystalline organic hybrid systems, she revealed. Not to change either form of life, but to create interfaces where both can exist in harmony. Imagine agricultural systems where crystalline matrices enhance organic growth, or crystalline energy processing supplemented by biological innovation. The ambassador's surface exploded with patterns of astonishment. This is beyond anything we imagined possible. You found ways to synthesize our approaches? We believe the future lies not in choosing between crystalline and organic methods, but in finding ways for both to enhance each other, Maya explained. The festival isn't just about food, it's about proving that different forms of life can not only coexist but flourish together. Zwextal's form began to resonate at frequencies that made the air itself vibrate. The conservatives in my society fear change, fear contamination. But they don't understand, evolution itself is a form of contamination, of adaptation, of growth. The ambassador's surface suddenly stabilized, displaying patterns Maya had never seen documented in any xenobiological database. I cannot return home yet, they declared. There is too much at stake. My society needs to understand what I've learned here, that diversity leads to strength, that change leads to growth, that different paths can lead to shared enlightenment. Maya felt hope rising, but also concern. The political ramifications will be significant, Zwextal finished. But consider this, in your organic terms, is not a seed's breaking of its shell a form of violence necessary for growth? Sometimes, old structures must crack for new life to emerge. As they stood in the rain garden, organic and crystalline beings contemplating a shared future, Maya realized they were standing at a turning point in history. The festival had become more than a cultural exchange, it was becoming a catalyst for evolution itself, both biological and crystalline, both cultural and political. The question was no longer whether their species could understand each other, but whether both societies were ready for the transformation that understanding would bring. News of Ambassador Zwextal's defiance spread through the diplomatic channels like a quantum wave collapse. Maya found herself working through the night, coordinating with Earth's leadership while trying to prevent an interstellar incident. The festival's fourth day dawned with an atmosphere charged with possibility and danger. The Archean homeworld had gone silent, a response that worried Maya more than any threat. In crystalline society, silence was often the precursor to decisive action. She found Zwextal in the festival's experimental laboratory, their crystalline form pulsing with patterns that suggested deep concentration. The hybrid gardens are ready, Zwextal announced without preamble, their harmonics carrying an undertone of excitement that cut through their usual formal resonance. They gestured to what appeared to be a miracle, crystalline structures growing in perfect symmetry with organic plants, each enhancing the other's natural properties. Maya approached the display, her neural interface capturing every detail. You've been working through the night. We've discovered something extraordinary. Zwextal's surface rippled with colors of revelation. The crystalline matrices don't just support the organic growth, they're learning from it. And the organic systems are adapting to crystalline patterns in ways we never predicted. Before Maya could respond, her neural interface flashed red. Multiple Archean ships had just emerged from hyperspace in Earth's orbit. The conservative faction had made their move. They're here, Zwextal's voice carried harmonics of both determination and concern. But they're too late. The integration has already begun. Maya watched in amazement as the hybrid garden continued to evolve before their eyes. The crystalline structures were pulsing with bioluminescence, while the organic plants had developed faceted growths that captured and redirected light with crystalline efficiency. This is more than just an agricultural breakthrough, Maya realized. This is proof that our species can do more than coexist, we can evolve together. The laboratory's communication system crackled to life. The harsh, pure tones of the Archean Conservative Council filled the room. Ambassador Zwextal, you have violated our most sacred protocols. Your experimental hybridization is an abomination against crystalline purity. But Zwextal's surface had taken on a new pattern, one that combined the structured beauty of crystalline symmetry with the flowing adaptability of organic systems. Honored Council, I invite you to observe. Not through remote sensors, but in person. Come and witness what happens when we move beyond our fears of contamination. There was a long pause. Maya held her breath, knowing that this moment could either lead to a new era of cooperation or spiral into conflict. Your organic associations have corrupted your judgment, the council declared. We have no choice but to observe the future. A new voice cut in, one of the junior diplomats who had accompanied Zwextal. Their crystal form appeared in the doorway, followed by others. We have all witnessed what the ambassador has discovered. The council must see this. One by one, more Archean diplomats entered the laboratory. Their surfaces displayed patterns of transformation, signs that they too had begun to understand the potential of synthesis between their species. Maya watched as the hybrid garden continued its evolution, organic and crystalline elements dancing in a harmony that defied traditional definitions of life. In that moment, she understood that they weren't just growing plants or crystals, they were growing a new future, one that would require both species to transcend their limitations. The council's silence stretched out, but now it felt different, contemplative rather than threatening. Finally, new harmonics filled the room, carrying tones of reluctant curiosity. Show us, the council commanded. Show us what you have discovered. As Maya and Zwextal prepared to present their breakthrough to the council, she realized that the true festival, the celebration of life in all its forms, was only just beginning. The Archean Council's arrival at the Terra Galactic Food Festival transformed the event into an unprecedented diplomatic summit. Maya watched as the council members materialized in the laboratory, their crystalline forms more elaborate and ancient than any she had seen before. Their surfaces held patterns that seemed to contain entire star systems. The head of the council, Elder Kryx, moved toward the hybrid garden with a deliberate grace that made the air itself resonate. Their crystalline structure was so complex it seemed to bend light around itself, creating optical effects that human eyes could barely process. You claim this abomination represents progress? Elder Kryx's voice carried harmonics of ages past, layers of tradition embedded in each resonating tone. Zwextal stepped forward, their own crystalline form now displaying patterns that somehow bridged organic and geometric designs. I claim it represents truth, Elder. The truth that evolution demands adaptation, that strength comes from synthesis, not isolation. Maya activated the laboratory's full-spectrum display, showing the molecular dance between crystalline and organic structures. What you're seeing isn't contamination, she explained, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. It's cooperation at the most fundamental level. The hybrid garden had continued to evolve, producing formations that defied conventional classification. Crystalline structures pulsed with what appeared to be a circulatory system, while organic plants developed latticed patterns that channeled energy with crystalline efficiency. Impossible, one of the council members chimed, but their surface betrayed patterns of fascination. Organic systems cannot achieve such precision. Just as crystalline structures cannot adapt so rapidly. Maya challenged gently. Perhaps our assumptions about the limitations of both forms of life need to be reconsidered. Elder KRYX moved closer to the garden, their ancient form casting prismatic shadows. This is more than mere agriculture, they observed, harmonics shifting to deeper frequencies. You are proposing a new path of evolution itself. Not proposing, ZYXTAL corrected, their tone carrying newfound authority. Demonstrating. These hybrid systems are already showing signs of emergent properties neither of our species predicted. As if in response to their words, the garden produced a new formation, a structure that seemed to exist in a state between crystalline and organic, displaying characteristics of both while being entirely unique. The council members' surfaces rippled with collective surprise. Maya's neural interface captured the moment in full spectrum, documenting what might be the birth of an entirely new form of life. This is what happens when we move beyond our preconceptions, she said softly. When we allow ourselves to imagine new possibilities. Elder KRYX remained silent for a long moment, their surface showing patterns that hadn't been seen in centuries. Finally, they turned to address both the council and the assembled diplomats. Our species ascended from simple crystal formations to achieve consciousness, they resonated. We did this through countless cycles of growth and change. Yet somewhere along our path, we began to fear change itself. The elder's form shifted, displaying patterns that seemed to flow like water while maintaining crystalline precision. Perhaps it is time for our next evolution. ZYXTAL moved to stand beside Maya, their crystalline form harmonizing with the hybrid garden's emanations. Not just our evolution, Elder. A shared evolution. A future where organic and crystalline life enhance each other rather than competing. The laboratory hummed with potential as the council members began to examine the hybrid systems in detail, their surfaces showing increasing patterns of acceptance and curiosity. Maya felt a profound sense of witness, they were standing at the edge of something unprecedented in human or Archean history. But as she watched the council's reactions, she noticed something concerning. Elder KRYX's surface had begun showing subtle patterns of distress, almost invisible unless you knew what to look for. The elder was struggling with something that could either cement this newfound understanding or shatter it completely.